as you unravel. So if you are tuning in, welcome to the live. We are here with Barry Morris, the slippery Barry Morris, and I'm Dallas Shannon from Traction E-Rag. Barry, of course, cross-training enduro skills on YouTube. So we're going to... Barry, I see you've been trying to start that new KTM.
Oh, bloody hell. Yeah. It's actually not flaming out. The whole thing's going up in flames. So a few facial burns, but nothing that'll really take too long to heal, hopefully. Might look better.
No. Yeah, for God's sakes, don't pull your bandage off during the live. No, don't threaten me. Don't threaten me. That's how people get PTSD. So we're going to open up with a clip. Barry knows this clip. It's basically, we did 50 Years of Kicks a few years back, and a gentleman named Paul Rodden said this phrase, and it was a concept that I did not understand, but it's going to provide better context if we see it live, and then we can talk about it. So Anthony, if you're up there in the control booth, please roll the clip.
Motorcyclists or off-roaders will spend literally thousands of dollars to try to take 10 or 15 pounds of weight off their bike. And young guys are the worst, okay? You know, they'll spend a fortune, you know, replacing apart levers. I remember this one, Steve was his name, great kid. He was paying like $100 for a brake and clutch lever.
Some young kid come up to him and said, "Hey, I just bought a new motorcycle and this and that, and I've got $300 left over. What do you think I should spend it on? Make me faster." And I looked at him and told him, $300 worth of gas through it will make you a lot faster.
That's so awesome. Larry and Paul.
So to be honest, when Paul said that the first time, I did not understand what he meant. How did $300 worth of gas make you faster?
Oh man, but that just resonates with me. It's that whole thing about bling. You know, people want to be the king of bling, and what did he say? $100 for a clutch lever? I mean, for fuck's sake, what's that going to do?
I've met these guys in the past that like weigh their clutch levers, and they weigh they're literally trying to shave weight off their bike.
Yeah, yeah.
The other one that shaving weight off your bike, lots of guys say, just lose some weight yourself. It's easier and cheaper.
Oh, it's amazing, isn't it? Yeah.
So today we're going to talk about the 80-20 rule. We talk about it all the time. Barry and I talk about it. We've been talking about it for 5 years, this topic. Just the concept that it's 80% rider and 20% bike. I'm sure you've heard us say it, or you've heard the concept. And we just thought we'd conversation about that topic, and we'll weigh in and see what Barry thinks.
Awesome. Did you want me to weigh in first? I think I am heavier than you.
Yeah, I don't know. That would be a toss-up, depending on the day.
Look, I'm assuming most people will have heard of it, but essentially what it's saying is that, roughly speaking, 80% of how well you ride actually comes from your skill and technique level, and only 20% is the bike. And why we think is such an important principle is people seem to get hung up on this shit about, I need more horsepower, or I need a lighter bike, or I need that $100 clutch lever. And in the vast majority of cases, it doesn't make a difference. Getting some Dolan suspension. Speaking of which, Dallas, don't you have Dolan suspension?
Yeah, I've tried it, and it still hasn't done a damn thing for me. All I've done is emptied $14,000 out of my account.
Yep. I know. It's just bizarre, and I've had so many guys vocal. Okay, sure, they won't spend the $14,000 on Dolans, but they'll spend $1,000 automatically on a new bike. And you'll see them all over the forum saying, you must do this the moment you get a bike. And invariably, when I've met the guys, they're very average riders. And I don't think you're even at a level where getting that much spent on your suspension is going to make a difference. And it's usually a reasonably decent bike. I know that suspension setup is adequate for us everyday Muppets.
I feel it's the curse of marketing. Like, you know, marketing does influence how we think about things. And, you know, they want to sell more suspension and they want to sell more bling and goodies.
Yeah.
So they've convinced us through imagery that we need these things and these will be the shortcut solution to, which is, you know, there is no shortcut. So guys buy this bling. You've seen it. I've seen it. Have I done it?
You do use a Recluse. Can I point out, Dallas, you use a Recluse. In fact, can I announce to anybody, I'm assuming nobody's watching this shit, Dallas Shannon uses a Recluse auto clutch.
It's like you're pulling my pants down on national television with your teeth.
Yeah, but you got something worth showing off.
I feel ashamed that you've said that, and I shouldn't. What else? What I'll say, I feel like I've done lots of ergonomic stuff, you know, to be more comfortable. But I don't know if I've made the decision, and I'm trying to be honest. I don't know if I've made the decision of buying something that is going to make me a better rider. But maybe that is something that makes me a better rider. I don't know.
Well, I think your case with the Recluse brings up the fact, though, that there's nothing wrong with buying bling. And sometimes it does make a difference. I know, we won't get into it now, of course. It's a topic for another time. But I know you really thought through everything before you got that Recluse, and you're very happy with the decision. And so likewise, when we're talking about suspension before, if somebody's very heavy or they're a pro-level rider, they're using the bike maybe for what it wasn't really intended, sure, get the suspension done. It could make a significant difference. But I still think, by and large, we're talking 20, 30% difference. You know, it's always better just initially have that focus on your rider skill, ability, and technique, and don't overemphasize getting that Recluse or the suspension job.
Yeah, like I've done that. For example, I'm 250 pounds. I don't know what that is in kilos.
That's a lot.
But yeah, it could be less. It should be less. But you know what I'd say, you know, on a stock motorcycle that sprung to 160 to 180 pounds, someone that's 250 pounds, change your springs out, like set the sag.
Yeah.
Like that's what I'd say is the first step. And then I would say no, I know Megs is in the background. I saw Megs in there somewhere. Megs would argue with this idea. Yeah, she was over your shoulder for a second there. I thought I saw her earlier. Yeah.
Yep.
But you know, I would just set the sag, and then I would wait a long time before I did any more, because I just think that there is no shortcut to improving. And I think you need to practice and, you know, understand what it is that you're doing on the motorcycle. But if you can improve your skill set to a certain level, I don't know what that level is, but, you know, a certain level, then I think those suspension mods may benefit you. And although Megs would argue with me, I see her in the chat. I think Megs, that actually occurred for Megs. So what happened was, she started like everybody else. She doesn't have suspension or any of that stuff. She knew nothing. She was on a freestyle motocross bike when she started, with like the hand grips and everything. But then as she became a better rider, she started getting her suspension tuned a bit. And I think at that point, she's starting to notice, and it's really helping her out.
Yeah. Look, there was a really interesting point actually about staying stock for a while and just seeing how you go. One thing that surprised me is as I'm sure you know, guys obsess over tyres. And it's one of the most popular things you'll see on Facebook or a forum. Somebody will go, I've got a dirt bike. What are the best tyres? Automatically, you've got, 500 replies from people equally clueless, and I include myself with that. One thing I found very interesting in our group is that as the guys are getting better, they actually forget about tyres completely. And in fact, they will intentionally wear their tyres out. They'll get down to, knobs, maybe only 5 mil high, half an inch. And they deliberately go out doing the hard terrain because it actually forces them to ride better. They actually have to go on technique and can't rely on that nice sharp grip edge on the knob. And I love that. I love that that's almost going the opposite direction and saying, I want to make it 95% the rider, 5% my tyres or my bike.
I actually learned that from you, and I feel like we dovetailed on the same philosophy about tires, just in a different way. So, for example, I feel like I don't, especially early in my career, I could never feel anything on the motorcycle. So people would ask me, oh, what tire do you notice a difference? So I'm just like, I can't tell what's happening back there.
Yeah.
I have no idea. So I didn't care about tires. I was just like, oh, what's the cheapest tire I can get? Because I'm going to burn it off. And it didn't matter to me. Like the bike continued to move forward most of the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I felt like I didn't care about tires. But then when you and I got together and we started talking about tires, you didn't care about tires because you thought that tires don't matter because skill trumps tires, compounds and rubber and all that stuff. So
yeah.
Is that? I thought I saw Megs there for a second. I thought Megs popped up.
You said she's in the background somewhere, but
she was. No. Yeah, she was. Yeah. Anyway, she may make another appearance. Oh, there she is on the XR.
Hey, Megs.
Here's a perfect example. Let's talk about that, Barry. So 2 summers ago, we were on the EREG HQ property. Megs created a super fun loop. And we were all running this loop all the time. And there were so many different bikes here that we had a chance to like swap bikes and run different bikes against each other. And we were timing it and filming it and having lots of fun.
Yeah.
But Megs was kicking people's asses on the XR200. And I'm not saying yours, Barry, but I have seen some video.
Oh, it was kicked or aggressively massaged at the very least. And speaking of my butt, does my butt look big in those pants?
Oh yeah, no, that's you. That's before you lost the weight.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like watching Megs ride, the bikes we saw her ride that summer. I mean, lots of them, but the XR200, a 34-year-old motorcycle at the time. We had all modern enduro bikes on that track. We had pro riders, and the differences in their lap time was measured in seconds, and not a lot of seconds either.
No.
Yeah.
And of course, for people who don't know, that's a bike with drum brakes. And I can remember at the front brake, you almost had 2 hands on it trying to get that front brake to even work. And the suspension, I don't think has ever had any work in 34 years. Incredibly soft. And wow, it just barely seemed to slow her down.
Yeah, and my whole re-entry riding career, I came back at 32 and I've been riding off-road now for almost over 20 years. And I have had my ass handed to me so many times by old men in clapped out bikes wearing mishmash hockey gear and a pair of jeans with their like knee pads over top of the jeans. And they show up and I'm like, ooh. And you try not to be judgmental, but you quickly think, oh, who's this person? And then it's like they clean your clock. Absolutely clean your clock.
Well, the classic was Archie McMillan. And I think we just saw the photo before. He's on a clapped out Honda XL 185. Is that right?
Yeah, and I
There we
think it
go.
was an 81. There it is there, yeah. So that was
Wow.
in 1981. And let me, before we talk about it, let me give a bit of context for anyone who may be listening. We had this idea of the 80-20 and thought, let's take a pro caliber rider, so Archie McMillan, and let's put him on a clapped out 1981 XL 185. And we threw him into what we call here in Canada the corduroy enduro. It's Canada's toughest enduro. People will argue that, but it's a 2-day enduro that's pretty difficult. And we put Archie in it on this motorcycle, and it was surprising what the results were.
Yeah.
He did quite well, but it's the pro on a clapped out bike. Like, it doesn't make any difference.
Yeah. The classic story I remember with that was that and correct me if I'm wrong, a very long, snotty hill climb, gnarly hill climb, and people can't get up. And these are people on the absolute latest Euro trash, have spent, I don't know, Canadian $16,000 on their Graham Jarvis two-stroke. They can't get up. And
Right.
Archie McMillan comes back down, parks his XL 185 and is helping push bikes up or ride bikes up for guys, and eventually says, oh, look, sorry, guys, I better get on with the race, you know. And despite that, helping other people, he still gets an incredible lap time or end result.
Yeah, yeah. And he's a very, very humble man. And I can't tell if he was born in New Zealand or he was born in a cave in Cape Breton, Nova Scotia. We're not sure, but super humble guy. And when I asked him about that, because he told me the story, oh, I was just helping people up because they couldn't make the hill. And he was sincerely concerned for these guys that were exhausted on their, brand new bikes. And he was helping. He was riding their bikes up the hill. He'd walk back down, ride their bikes up the hill. And then he was like, oh, I got to make my minute. I got to stay on time. So then he hopped on the 185 right up the hill. Just, And what he said is that, oh, no, it was easy on the 185 because there's no power, so there's no wheel spin. So he's still self-deprecating. Anyway, it's crazy.
Love it. And I'm just thinking, hey, Control, could we see that photo again? Control. If we look at Archie's riding gear, it's absolutely classic. You can see the Canadian dinner jacket.
Yep.
I don't know what you would call those pants. I mean, in Canada, apparently this is formal dress wear, but unbelievable. I just love that riding gear.
Yeah, those are dungarees.
Dungarees. Wow.
Dungarees with a Canadian dinner jacket. Yeah. No, he wore that at the race, and I'm sure the looks that he got on the start line with a backpack on and this outfit. Of course he's going to get judged on the starting line of Canada's toughest enduro.
Yeah.
And I can't remember his times because this happened a while ago, but he posted very respectable times as like an intermediate class racer. And he was doing this. And then there was his seat fell off. One of the foot pegs, I can't remember if the foot peg fell off or it was the shift lever, but it was all this. As he's going through the woods, the bike is just shedding parts. So
it's getting lighter.
yeah. Anyway, it just it proved the point. It just made me shake my head.
Yeah. Look, we've had a similar thing in Australia with one of our upcoming riders. His name is actually Jarvis Bolt, and he enters our biggest hard enduro in Australia on a Yamaha DT 175, and amazing to watch. I Control, do we have a photo? Just amazing what he can do.
I saw I think I saw
Control,
Megs again.
Thankfully.
Oh,
sorry, mate. There we go.
Oh, Jarvis Bolt. Yeah, it sounds like he's got pedigree, that guy.
He's got something. He's got body odor. I know that much.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So Jarvis Bolt is the local Archie McMillan.
Yeah, yeah, I'd say so. He's our equivalent. Yeah.
Can you imagine if we got Jarvis Bolt together with Archie McMillan and we put them in the TKO Tennessee Knockout?
Yeah, yeah.
That would be fun.
Oh, yeah. and maybe get who's that rider? Is it Megan Craps? Meg's Craps or somebody? But yeah,
she's from. Yeah, I heard that person's from British Columbia.
Yeah, yeah. Just a whole pile of ass kicking.
So suspension, just to move back to suspension for a second. When do you think that someone should spend some money on suspension? And then the other second part of the question, what other mods or improvements, performance improvements, would you say come after suspension? Or does suspension come first? It might not even come first. I don't know.
Look, it's one of those things where people want to give an easy one answer. I hope my burns aren't showing. People want to give an easy one-line answer, and it's never that easy. It's so different for everyone. Because, for example, when people are first learning, it's almost going to be irrelevant. But, of course, once they just start to pick up a little bit of speed, if they're too heavy for the bike, as Megs Brapp just said, setting it up for your weight can be critical. Yeah, or it will certainly become more critical as you get better. So I just don't think there's any easy answer, although people want there to be an easy answer.
I remember, when we were starting, that when I was starting riding again, I couldn't feel anything. And I thought, oh, there must be something wrong with me. Because I often ran into people with maybe a year or two more experience than I had. And they would absolutely insist that they needed to change their rebound or their compression a couple notches on the trail, and they swore by this tire or that tire. And I felt deficient, well, more deficient than I already feel. What was wrong with me? Because I can't feel any of these things. And when you're in a peer group and there's like 6 guys standing around and they're all talking about the merits of this rubber on this tire, you don't want to be the guy saying, I can't feel a thing. I can't tell. But it's the truth. I can look back now and be like, man, I can still barely feel anything. Like I can't tell the difference between a rear tire, sadly.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. Look, I put different tires on and just go, meh. And yet, oh, look, well, a classic anecdote I remember with tyres was on an Australian dirt bike forum. This guy, the moment somebody asked about tyres, this guy would just come in with amazing comments. And it might be, look, the GT 333 Golden tyre works best in those loamy conditions, but only if you've got a 46% front wear ratio and you stand and adopt this body positioning. And I'm there going, fuck, this guy knows his shit. 6 months later, I met him on a ride. He barely knew how to ride, but he just learned all these, flash expressions. And maybe there was some truth to them, but he was just parroting what other people had said, but presenting it as his own wisdom. And I've always just been very amused by that. And I thought, I really hope I never jump the gun and present so-called wisdom when I know so little. I'd rather be like, I don't know, who was that Greek philosopher? He said the wise man realizes how little he knows. Socrates, I think.
Socrates,
I thought it's a much better way to be. Remain silent and be thought a fool than open your mouth and remove all doubt.
Yeah, I just, to defend, because I have seen the other side of that, to defend the people that do know suspension / tires, because here's how I know that some people actually know what they're talking about. I talked to Chuck Harder, and Chuck Harder tunes a lot of suspension, and he's been heavily involved with a lot of absolutely, he's amazing.
Mighty Chuck.
Absolutely. So he's done lots of this stuff, and he's very objective. And he told me that he's worked with riders and people that truly understand and can truly feel like the Princess and the Pea. They can feel the Pea 20 mattresses below. And when he changes their suspension and they run the lap and come back, they tell him exactly what he's done. And he's like, wow, there are people that can feel this. But I think they're riding at a level way, 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 way high.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I'm sure those incremental little adjustments make more of a difference as you get better, for sure.
Oh, yeah. I think that you can't possibly benefit. You benefit more from the adjustments or modifications. The better you are, the more that would resonate with you.
Yeah. And sorry, just to go back, you did ask me what I thought about suspension, and all I would give you is an anecdote. I'm riding a Beta cross trainer, and I've kept the suspension stock. And people might know it's already incredibly soft suspension. I'm way too heavy for it, but I just thought I'll practice what I preach and not get it done straight away. And it's been 2 years now. And I know when I ride fast, I can definitely feel the suspension's not working very well, and it's potentially dangerous, but thankfully I don't ride fast. So I know I will benefit when I finally get it done, but I'm just saying to myself, we do slow technical riding. It's just not that critical.
Right.
Yeah.
There was just
but, people talk about shaving seconds off their lap time, and I just think, I don't know, I just don't shave that often, I guess.
I've known people that shave seconds off their lap time, and her name just came up. Megs Brapp just posted a comment, and she said that when you're... What's that?
Does Megs shave?
You'll have to take that up with her.
Okay. Sorry, Megs. We're probably going to get a nasty comment soon.
The badger. So Megs just posted a comment. She said, when you're learning how to ride and the suspension's too harsh, and this is more, this has got directly to do with Megs. She's very light. And she's actually under the factory specs. So
yeah.
I would say, and we both agree, get the bike sprung to your weight. That's worthwhile doing. And Megs rode this freestyle motocross bike with a motocross freestyle suspension. Megs probably weighs 110 pounds. Like, she's tiny. Yeah. And, it would have been bouncing and deflecting all over the place.
Yeah. Dallas, I was just going to say quickly, for people who don't know, there's actually a big brother lurking in the background, Anthony, sort of our chief control.
Yep.
I don't know what he's doing, but I don't think he realises we've got very key sponsors, and if we don't say nice things about them, we're just going to lose all our funding. So I don't know, mate. Where is he? Do you want to roll any ads? Where is he?
Roll the ad. Oh, here we go. Oh, an 80-20, 80% rider, 20% bike. So we've created these and thrown them up in the E-Rag swag section. And if you guys want to support what we're doing, whatever it is that we're doing.
Yeah.
Oh, Megs is, sorry for interrupting. Megs is throwing a dirty chat up at me. She's 110 pounds. I don't know, man. I should have never threw a number up there. I should have just said 50 pounds. Anyway.
And I should point out that those clothes, I don't know what you would call those hoodies, they are actually made in a sweatshop by overweight, middle-aged Australian men. So only the finest. They actually come with body odor included as new.
Yeah, we chose not to go back, and we outsource these to another poverty-stricken country. The bottom of the barrel in first world.
Both, mate.
So I'm hearing from Anthony is in my ear, and he's telling me that he's got a clip he wants to roll. So we're going to run this clip. I'll give you guys a bit of context. It's a 1986 XR200 clip, same bike that we run here, but we've found a clip of someone who can actually ride it. So roll the clip!
Roll!
There you have it.
Wow. Wow.
I do not know who that man is, but you could give me a 2022 super duper zoomer doomer Eurotrash full of bling, and he will kick my ass on a 40-year-old motorcycle.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. So, I mean, it's proving the point, like, it's the rider. Like, put that time, effort, energy. Nobody wants to hear it. I'm always preaching about practice, and no one wants to hear it.
Yeah, yeah. Look, I have had people complain whenever I've talked about the 80-20 principle, and they'll go, no way, man, it's 81, 19. And I'll go, okay, and I'm just there thinking, well, I don't know, we're not into standard we're deviates, but we're not into standard deviations and all the statistical shit. Here we go. The critical thing is the size of your ovaries or testicles, how much alcohol you've had, and, well, actually, it's just mainly alcohol related, isn't it? But the interesting thing is I have tried to quantify it a little bit. We've got an enduro loop on one of our many private properties. I went around it as quick as I could on the Beta RR 480. And then a week later, I went around it on the Suzuki DR650, big, heavy dual sport bike. And it was really interesting because I just looked at the lap time difference, and I think it was 18%. Oh, here it is. People, please, if you can just bow and worship in front of the mighty bush pig. Wow.
Is that that's the DR650?
That was the bike. Well, that's not me riding, unfortunately. You can see this guy's ass is quite tight and compact, unlike my comfort version. And, control's telling me to say ass. Sorry, guys. I keep slipping into bloody Americanisms. He's got a nice tight ass, mate.
We'd say arse here. Arse.
Oh, you do?
Look at the arse on him.
British. Very British old chap, what? But, yeah, look, it was just interesting that with the DR, it was roughly a 20% time difference. And, of course, it would vary depending on all these dramatic bikes. But I just thought that was interesting because that was cutting a lap time on a good quality enduro bike, then doing one with a dual sport, quite heavy dual sport bike, very inappropriate for this quite gnarly enduro track, 20%. So sure, you can mix and jumble those figures around, but I think as a general rule, it kind of works most of the time.
Yeah, and when I think about our crowd and who we hang out with, I don't know very many racers. Like I would say that most of the people we hang out with and ride with are just strictly trail riders. Maybe some of them have tried racing in the past, but nobody in our crew. And no one I know, not that I have anything against racing, it's wonderful, but we're just not in that crowd. So why do trail riders care so much about that, about the speed or the fastness or the performance of their motorcycle?
Oh, look, I shouldn't roll my eyes because I used to. I think I used to just be sucked into that whole thing about I should be wearing what the champions are wearing. I should be riding what the champions are riding. And when you do see a top rider pop up, it's very hard not to be a little bit scared by just their sheer ability. But I just think often there's one principle for them and one for us. That's all. Just that yes, those guys can make a difference with those incremental little adjustments in suspension or power or bling or, I don't know, anodized spoke nipples. But the rest of us, it's really not worth getting too hung up on that stuff most of the time.
Yeah, I feel I've been lucky or fortunate enough to be around sports quite a bit in my life. And I feel like as you go up that pyramid of performance, that's a very elite world. And it's hard to imagine. And here's maybe an analogy. If you've ever been to an enduro race where there's a lot of top pros there, guys that are really, truly fast, like world-class fast, and you see them go through the woods, it seems physically impossible of what they're doing and how quickly they go by. So for that, at that level, at that pinnacle of performance, you're right, like suspension, like everything matters. But average people, I don't think comprehend how elite that group is.
Absolutely. It really is quite scary. Watching a video will be one thing, but I think most people know that videos make hills flatter, the speed doesn't look as fast, obstacles don't look as big. When you're actually there, it is unbelievable.
Yeah.
A breed apart.
Yeah, you feel it in your entire body, like it's just your hair on your neck stands up because it's hard to fathom what you're seeing live.
Yeah, exactly.
I have another sort of a analogy that we know about. Once again, it has to do with Meg Spratt. Megs started riding, X amount of years ago, and then it was a summer that she decided to commit to static balance. So she learned static balance, she fell in love with it, and she committed to it for an entire year. She left, I think she was in Texas. I mean, she can correct me. She left the group, she was somewhere else. And then the next season in Canada, when it was riding, she came back. And Chuck Harder, who I would argue is one of our top riders, young, fit, strong, technically good. But Megs, who used to ride roughly, Charles could ride with Megs, she kicked his ass that year, just kicked his ass. And it wasn't because she spent $800 on a modification that suddenly made her kick Charles's ass.
Yeah.
It was that she spent hundreds of hours practicing static balance, improved her skill set.
Yeah.
It was such a jaw-dropping difference in her skill level that year. She went from being like one of our top riders and like sort of in the pack to being like untouchable. Untouchable. You've tried to follow her. She's fast and technically good and
$300 of gas, baby. Instead of $300 of bling, $300 of gas.
Yep. So I mean, go ahead, Barry.
Oh, sorry, mate. I was just going to say, look, a very interesting point has come up. I don't know if Control can flash up this comment, but I'll read it out. Emerson Varley has said placebo effect of bling. And I think, here we go. Thank you, Control. Really good point. I know often people have said, surely this knobby must make a difference because people rave about it. And I think people forget that often there's this incredibly important psychological stuff going on in the background. If you've spent a lot of money on something, for example, you almost can't admit to yourself that it's crap. Yeah, you've gone, oh God, I just spent, I don't know, $10,000 on Olin suspension. It has to work. If I don't notice much difference, I can't admit that to myself, let alone the rest of the world. And similar with tyres. If all these guys are saying this is an amazing tyre, you put it on yourself and you think, well, everybody else said it's good. It must be good. And and I just think sometimes those people could be right, but too often we don't realize all the different ways we deceive ourselves. And it's just another thing worth keeping in mind.
Yeah, it's absolutely true, because in the sports world, that placebo effect, or, you know, if you're confident, if you believe something, it will alter your performance either positively or negatively. And I remember we were talking. We had Colton Haker on the set of the Checkpoints film we did, and I remember him saying, because he'd always come out in the morning like crispy, like his gear was perfect and everything was polished and his boots were glowing, and it's like, wow, he just stood out like he wasn't real. And
yeah, I know. Was it just me, or did you get a bit of a semi-chub when he walked out like that?
It was confusing feelings. I think something to do with my youth.
It was just bro love, like not a gay thing, just kind of, ooh, hello.
Yeah, well, he certainly made an appearance in this like glowing gear. And I asked him about it because I was like, whoa, man, there's like an alien on the set. Like, what is going on here? We're just not used to that. And he said, and he's like polishing his nails as he's doing it. And he's like, when I look good, I feel good. And when I feel good, I ride good. And I was like, oh, wow, like it's all psychological. Yeah. So, yeah, I love that comment. The placebo effect is real. Absolutely, it's real.
Yeah.
Your fixation on this topic is as ridiculous as that mentality about bling.
Which topic? The semi-chub? Which topic?
I think Colton he was Haker? Talking about the tight young arse that you mentioned earlier.
I only mention tight asses in every second video.
Yeah,
come on.
It is a reoccurring theme for sure.
Oh God.
So after suspension, because you know everyone talks about suspension, are there any other performance modifications that you think, like, is tires next, like the rubber that you choose?
Well, again, the last thing I would want to do is really give an opinion that I think applies to other people. So I'd only be willing to speak about my experience and hope to God nobody is going to use it for themselves. Yeah, I just don't think, to me, tyres aren't important. We actually like wearing them out because you actually have to work harder at riding. Yeah, just what I was saying earlier. Yeah, I did one of the most monumentally boring video series I did was a 3-part series on the Bald Nobby. And it was just going out doing our hard, slippery, muddy tracks on a knobby tyre with maybe that much left. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't getting up things, but I was just trying. So really that's my take on tyres. Pretty irrelevant. You know, I just sort of like using tyres that aren't working that well because I have to ride better.
Do you notice that? Like, you know, as your knobs slowly start to wear down, do you notice that with better technique, you can get up the hill or make it through the track, or like, do you notice?
Yeah, definitely. But it really stands out with the good riders. Yeah, anybody who follows my channel will know that Ben has rocketed past us in our group. As some people would say, Benji is the king of bald tyres. Thank you, Muppets Inc. That's Coxie.
Oh, that's Coxie.
He comes from Victoria, Australia, and we don't hold that against him. Poor bastard. But yeah, Ben is quite amazing what he can do when his tyres get down to almost nothing. We're just staggered at the shit he still can climb up and get through. Now, a lot of that's low pressure. Yeah, he runs very soft mousses or tubeless at very low pressure, but there's just so much technique. And he'll just put a new tyre on for a serious competition.
Right. So let's say, so you ride your tyres down to the worn knobs. when you put a fresh knobby on, you must notice like big difference.
Oh yeah.
Right, right. But brand and compound and all that stuff is irrelevant to you.
Not totally. If it's something a bit soft, that works better for our gnarly technical riding. Yeah, but I don't know. I just buy whatever's cheap, and a lot of the time I just use other people's secondhand tires. You know, this whole YouTube gig is it doesn't pay well. So I just use other people's. Yeah.
So like, let's move up the bike. So suspension, tires, and I can't think of anything off the top of my head. Is there a special air filter, foam that you used? Like, is there anything else performance-based that makes a difference at all?
If I was to look at my bike, I would say that the thing that has made the most difference is installing tubeless. And people would need to Google it, but it essentially allows you to go tubeless with your tires. And again, I'm not going to say everybody should get this. It'll make a big difference for you. But we do slow, hard, technical riding. And so we run ridiculously low pressures. The tires just kind of go like that. And we get amazing grip, almost irrelevant of what tire we're using. So for me, that's actually a pretty good performance mod, I'd say. Riding a two-stroke and using tubeless are the two things that have made the biggest difference. So if we've got the 80-20 argument, I didn't get in the screen, 80% the rider, then the 20% down here, I'd say a significant part of that 20% is just riding a light two-stroke and using tubeless, so we get really big tyre patches on the ground.
Right, so it's basically just a low pressure situation. Like low pressure is going to help traction, which helps riding.
Yeah, that's made a difference, I think. Yeah.
Did you say you were in Canada or Australia?
Australia.
Yeah, okay.
Why is that?
I couldn't tell.
Okay.
Meg's had a good comment. She just said, talk about people's obsessions with power valve adjustment. Now, I don't know that one as well, Megs, but I've met people that will literally adjust their carburetor on the trail based on elevation change that there's no possible way that they could feel in Ontario where there is no elevation change.
Yeah.
It's like, I call those people the princess and the pea because they swear they can feel that pea 20 mattresses down. Yeah. And I don't know if they can. I don't know if it's in their mind or maybe they're that magical unicorn that can actually feel these subtle changes.
Yeah, look, it's difficult for me to comment on that one because I don't know if I'm just emotionally and physically numb, but I changed. I changed things like my power valve. I barely notice it. One bike will vibrate, and then another one will have the counterbalancer in. They go, it's so smooth, and I just can't tell. And the interesting thing is, I guess, is I've never messed around with a power valve because I don't know. I just don't really get into that sort of thing. Whether it makes a difference for others, I don't know. It probably does. I guess they put it on there for a reason. Yeah.
And full disclosure, and I think I can speak for the both of us, I am not mechanically inclined. I don't have one bit of orderly engineering genetics at all, nor do you. We've talked about this lots. We're not that engineering, tinkery type of person. We just like to get on it and ride it and then wash it maybe at the end.
Look, true, but it does remind me though, I don't know, Control, Can we flash up Ben Gilmore's comment? About 6 comments ago, we had Ben Gilmore comment. Now, Ben is the famous Benji who appears in our vids. He's the guy who's pretending he's good enough to get into gold class at our hard enduros soon.
That's not happening.
Now, it's not. Look, I made the mistake of leaving my bike one night at his place, and he was going to take it to the next hard enduro event. And he actually put on pink handlebar streamers, a pink sweatband on my headlight, pink sweatbands on the radiator shrouds, big glossy rainbow coloured wings on the back of my rear fender. And now, look, a lot of people would say that's just bling. It's not going to make any difference. But holy fuck, did that bike go fast. And I would have to say that sometimes there is certain bling that can make a difference. But it was actually too much for me. I've taken most of it off because I just couldn't handle the horsepower.
That's what I was thinking. How could you possibly deal with that bike?
Yeah, exactly. Now, Ben's good with that sort of shit. You know, he's probably going to be fully outfitting himself with pink plastics and, you know, that sort of caper. I'm not trying to get into gold class enduros. I'll be fine.
There was a good comment. It scrolled down already, but it basically said, maybe Anthony, if you can find this comment, throw it up there. It was the idea that if you're good enough to feel these subtle adjustments in suspension and power valve and all this stuff, you're also good enough to compensate with your riding on a bike.
Yes. Yes.
So, yeah, it's such a great comment. Whoever put that up. Oh yeah, here it is. Riley Scraggs. Brilliant comment.
That can't be a real name. Riley Scraggs.
He's a famous country singer, obviously.
Is he? Scriley Rags.
From the South. So like the idea, it's an interesting concept. Like I've ridden with people that are quite good and they just hop on anything and they ride it well almost immediately. And they say they just compensate for the bike. So they're good enough that they just change their riding style based on what they're riding. And I think that says it all.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not the bike. You can put a good rider on anything and they're just going to change and compensate for whatever they're dealing with and still kick your ass.
Absolutely. It's a bit off topic, but just a shout out to Greg Peterson who commented. He actually wants to put Benji, our so-called good rider, into gold class at the next hard enduro. Greg Peterson, there we go. Greg Peterson actually runs the entire national series of hard enduros in Australia. Can't ride at all himself, but he just likes inflicting pain on other people, apparently.
And what is that going to cost?
Mate, I think we would all pay to see Ben get beaten up in gold class.
Yeah, Ben probably is not sure what he's in for.
Pink plastics or not. Yeah.
He's going to have to spend some more money on his bike.
Oh God!
I do find the story of Ben interesting because I remember when Ben entered your group. Now he's younger and fitter and stronger than most of the group, which obviously helps. Fitness makes a big difference. But I am amazed, like over the last few years, you updating me on Ben's progress, and it's like you're like, he's this, he's that, he's slowly, and it was always an improvement. His progression was continuous. So like to see where he is now, and like, what is it? What's Ben doing? Like, what's the magic formula in your eyes? And don't give Ben any compliment, but I do want to know the truth.
Ben is an asshole. He's ugly.
Yeah.
I think his personal hygiene leaves a lot to be desired. Having said that, though, we started our discussion talking about, was it 80-year-old Paul saying, don't spend $300 on bling, spend it on gas. Just ride.
Right.
Now, Ben's done that. I think last year, Ben clocked up 550 hours on his RR300. And the thing just looks like it's ready to go to the scrapyard. It's just been beaten up so much, but it was just practice, 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 practice. He was riding sometimes 5 days a week by himself, out just doing more and more difficult stuff. And that's seen a meteoric rise in his ability because he's putting in the hours, he's deliberately searching out how to do things better. He's not just going trial and error, and he's not relying on bling. You know, he's done very little to his bike. Most of the bling on it is just to protect it from getting to the scrapyard too quickly. You know, bash plates, disc guards, things like that.
Now, has Ben been practicing? Like, is he doing the practice thing, or is he just riding?
I'd be interested to see if he's still in and he can comment on this, but my impression is that he's more practicing, but he's still taking time out just to do a social ride and just have fun and chill a bit more and not have to push the limit every ride. But he is pretty committed to wanting to get into gold class when he's ready in our hard enduro series. And that obviously takes an awful lot of practice in your mid-40s.
So we're almost out of time. We're coming up on time, but I just want to throw one more concept up. You and I have talked about this concept a lot. We live in Canada. The riding is endless. Like, you could ride, and you know, especially if you're in rural Canada, you've been here plenty of times. It's just, there's so much fun riding that nobody wants to practice. Now, in countries like Sweden or somewhere in Europe, when there's not all this land to ride on and have fun, they say that it forces guys into more practice. So they're doing drills and they're repeating things over and over and over and getting reps under their belt, just because that's their only choice. What's that concept look like in Australia? Like, is all the great terrain in Australia handicapping people or keeping them down because there's no need to practice? They're just out there having a great time.
Ooh. Wow, that's an interesting thought. We are spoiled because essentially with most capital cities, you just drive for 1 hour from the city centre and you've usually got thousands of acres of beautiful riding. Has it spoiled people? Look, I don't know. I can understand that it might, simply because there's just all this beautiful riding and you're not having to make the most of just being able to ride for summer before you're snowed in. Yeah, you can go out pretty much any weekend anywhere in Australia. The weather will be pretty good normally.
Yeah,
it's an interesting thought. Yeah.
The concept was brought up to me by Larry, because Larry said to me, they were watching Graham Jarvis ride, and Graham would he found a log that was suspended and he hit it like, and I don't think I'm exaggerating when I say 25 times in a row. He just kept going back over and over and over and over. Yeah. And in Canada, that's unheard of. Our mentality here, and I'm just speaking for myself and our group, no idea how other people think about things, but you're coming around the corner and you see the obstacle and like, oh shit, you do the best thing you can do to get over it. And you're like, whoo, I'm not going to see that again today. And you're super happy that you just made it over and it's behind you.
Yeah.
But you know, the mentality of practice and repetition is like, guys will go back and hit that same thing 20, 30 times, practice.
Yeah.
And of course they're going to get better.
Yep. Yeah, look, I certainly see it in our group, and people who are progressively moving toward hard enduro, they're doing that because they know if you don't learn the skills or techniques, no amount of bling will get you over a log that's as high as your handlebars. Right. Yeah, but I would imagine that maybe for everyday dirt riders, it is more just, I'm here to have fun. I don't need to do that obstacle. I'm just out here to chill and enjoy spending time with my mates, which I think's great. You know, it's another facet of dirt riding and probably the biggest one. Yeah. And certainly, yeah, Australia climate and conditions and access to riding areas promote that.
Cool. All right, I think we'll wrap it on that, man, because it's an hour's coming up. Thank you for appearing on the show. I'm sure we'll do this lots.
And I must say, thanks also for everybody who's commented. I'm looking forward to actually reading this back and just seeing what people have said. So if we haven't acknowledged you, we will later on.
Yeah, absolutely. Say hello to that sexy missus of yours.
Yeah, I think she's down at the shops at the moment, but I'll pass on your regards.
You got her working on the bike, eh?
Yeah.
Hey, just one more shout out to everyone. Thanks again. Like Barry said, thanks for showing up. It's amazing that people listen to this drivel. If you want to support us, get an 80/20 hoodie. They're on the website. Yeah, man, we're doing our best.
See you later, guys.
Oh.